Mario & Luigi Brothership is a fantastic game, lovingly programmed on only the finest of duct tape. This time, in the hit indie challenge run series, the Sicilian shits decide to return to Concordia once more. Unfortunately for them and fortunately for us, however, the Concordians have finally realized, wait, murder is bad actually. But Mario and Luigi have never been one to back down from a seemingly insurmountable challenge. So it's time to ask the question, how many battles are required in Mario and Luigi Brothership? This seems like it would have a simple rule set, but quite the contrary. All grinding and optional battles are banned in their entirety, that's a given. What I'm defining as a battle for the purposes of this run is encountering an enemy, whether willingly or forced, defeating everything in the encounter, and gaining EXP and seeing the level up screen. I am, in fact, allowed to run away like a little sissy baby without incrementing the counter. Differently from Switch Summit's minimum level up runs, I can and will be allowing both brothers to stay alive as much as possible. Where things start to get a bit complicated is the word optional, surprisingly enough. You probably think that means defeat all the enemies and bosses the game would normally unavoidably throw at you in a casual playthrough. Duh! But that ignores the existence of glitch hunters and speedrunners. These dedicated fuckheads break shit in half so they can yearn through the game ASAP. And it just so happens that 10 of those tricks help us completely skip otherwise required battles. So for the next rule on our docket, I must perform all possible skips and sequence breaks that bypass battles on version 1.0.1 of the game. But we're still not done! To make things a bit more interesting, I added a plethora of bonus challenges on top of that. They are as follows. No side quests, no reefs, no Grampy turnips, no blasting to unnecessary islets, no hammer rally, no shops, fishing, or crafting, no equipping new gear, and no battle plugs. That last one actually winds up being mandatory with the route I take, but we'll get to that later. Also, before we get fully started, I want to apologize for any weird anomalies in my audio during any Discord call sections I show in this video. Long story short, a mama bird made her nest in a hole in my wall that I had no control over being put there to begin with. Can't do shit about it. Just have to live with them until the babies grow up and leave. I've reduced the presence of their chirping in my audio as best I can, but they won't be completely gone, sadly. Also, in a couple parts of the run footage in particular, I didn't realize that running my desktop fan was fucking up my audio. So anything from part 1 and the first half of part 19 is gonna sound scuffed in its own way. The reason this voiceover you're hearing doesn't have this problem is because I always record these portions in the family car. With all of that out of the way, we can finally get this run started. I'm admittedly not going to cover the first few battles in depth. Specifically, 1 for the Conductor Island tutorial, and 4 during the first Rumbla visit. Even with our stipulations in mind, they're as easy as the devs intended them to be, putting us at level 3 by the time they're squared away. Dodging enemies in the overworld is going to be a massive pain in the ass for most of this run though, and you're going to be seeing me pull a Colonel Runaway a lot. Nothing of note for this run happens during Twisty or Rainforest either, just a lot of dodging enemies and grabbing whatever overworld item boxes I can, so we'll also be glossing over them. We return to Rumbla Island soon enough to save their statues from becoming lost media, and here is where our troubles truly begin. We're still only level 3 by this point, and the guard arms in our next required fight are now level 6. I'll let you take a wild guess as to how effective our attacks are as a result, and it's not like we can equip new gear to even slightly remedy that. As per the rules, we are completely locked to the default gear only. On top of that, being hit with all the strength of a truck ramming a deer is going to be a constant problem in this run, and it's at its least bad here. This is especially well represented by Garumbla, the first boss of the run and our 7th battle overall. he's capable of 3-shotting us, and due to our pathetic speed stat, he gets more opportunities to do that than usual. Thankfully, however, we still beat him first try, only flubbing a couple dodges here and there. Only took about 11 minutes, and we finally reached level 6 ourselves. The level ups we can get are few and far between, to say the least, so any extra power we get, no matter how little, is going to be crucial to our survivability odds.
Viewers, if you ever have deep-fried Oreos, I'm gonna warn you, they're really good, but only ever eat them like once a year. I could taste how unhealthy they were. Yeah, they taste amazing, but... And also wait for them to cool, because I burned my tongue on them on accident, but we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about burning the tongue. No, no, no. We don't talk about burning the tongue.
Have I told you how much that song has... I don't want to say traumatized me, but how deeply it is ingrained into my being at this point in my life.
Do spill the tea, brother. Do spill the tea.
So, my choir teacher in my senior year of high school was a big fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and for our final choir concert, we had to sing both a Hamilton medley and We Don't Talk About Bruno. So I ended up singing We Don't Talk About Bruno for 10 minutes every weekday from like the middle of January. No, wait, she started us on We Don't Talk About Bruno at like the beginning of December of 2021.
Oh no!
Until the middle of May of 2022.
Oh no!
Every fucking day was We Don't Talk About Bruno and the Hamilton medley for probably 10 minutes each.
Oh my god.
So
more like we don't talk about Lin-Manuel Miranda in this house.
Yeah, so I did crash out, Candy. I cannot listen to Hamilton anymore, and I cannot listen to the Encanto soundtrack anymore.
Man.
And I was also inundated with Hamilton in my senior year because I ended up having to write an essay on it in the fall semester, and then also wrote an essay on it for my AP Lit test. And I actually passed the test. So, Lin-Manuel Miranda was a huge part of my senior year of high school, but I'm still burned out from him, except for the Moana soundtrack.
Oh, that's fair.
I love the Moana soundtrack.
Totally understandable, brother. Totally understandable.
Moana soundtrack is so good.
What can I say except you're welcome? Shut the fuck up, Candy!
It's the wrong kind of you're, too.
You're taking too long, Jinx!
Yeah!
I would be saying our next boss is upon us, but no. What's in store is arguably way worse. Say hello to the most infuriating series of glitches I've ever had the displeasure of trying to pull off, and the hardest trick of the run, Goblet Skip. Before you can even get to the part that made me want to tear my hair out, you first have to progress through the lush green lighthouse normally up to this point here. After completing the puzzles as normal and bringing the 2 plugs back to the main area, you won't be actually putting them in the main gate. Instead, you want to set them in a barricade beneath the stairs that looks roughly like this, which in and of itself was a royal pain to set up properly. I had next to no idea what I was doing, and fumbled around for a long time following the any % world record setups to the best of my ability, but I got it eventually. And the important thing about the barricade is that you, as Mario, need to be the only one that can get back to the side closer to the gate after you jump to the cage side with Luigi. Our goal here is to trick Luigi's follower programming in such a way that he gets stuck behind our plug wall. Since his programming is dumb as bricks and won't make him jump over the plugs without our manual input, old Pesto Boy instead starts climbing the stairs out of the room again. But because Mario is the one that triggers loading zones, Luigi goes behind the loading zone. And by moving towards Goblik's Gate in a certain way, we can exploit that and get far enough away from Luigi for him to do his Mario call, making us walk towards him. But because a wall stands between the bros, we get warped to Luigi's location. And all of that was the easy part. I was stuck for ages, referencing the input display on the any% run and trying to match the inputs as best I could, but to no avail. I went so fucking crazy during my multiple attempts that I tried experimenting with the plugs and some fuck out of bounds shit to see if there were any other ways past the gate, also ultimately to no success.
That's Minecraft Villager.
Shut the fuck up!
May the power of my bag having a hole in it fill you.
Sorry to everyone watching the VOD if these bird noises are annoying, by the way. Literally nothing I could do about them.
They're in the walls. They're in the goddamn walls!
Even with the set of tips later on from Sway and C, the current world record holder for the any% category, and another tip on top of that from Luigi Fan 32, the one who discovered the skip, this still took me an obscene amount of time and tries to finally land. I'm going to be directly quoting Sway's reply to my comment on his world record, with one part adjusted slightly to reflect Luigi Fan 32's advice, as I couldn't even begin to properly explain this otherwise. Hold right to get up against the corner, i.e. when the silhouette in the top left corner of the screen stops moving. While still holding right, roll the stick downward ever so slightly then back to full neutral, so that Mario changes direction. Doesn't need to take a step, just need one turn. Tap down once, preferably a moderately sized tap here, as both Sway and I had trouble getting tiny taps to work for this part. Enter UFO formation if possible. Jump, then tap right. If the camera shifts, that should mean it worked. In which case, select UFO formation multiple times to get warp protection, which will prevent the game's failsafe for landing on invisible walls from stopping what you're trying to do until you switch moves. After you get warp protection, keep jumping and tapping right, with some down probably, until you fall past the gate. Let's go! Oh my fucking god! This was the most infuriating skip of the whole run. It genuinely pissed me off so much, I was very close to putting the run on hold or outright scrapping it entirely multiple times during the 5 hours, 33 minutes, and 22 seconds I spent struggling on this accursed skip. It is insane to me that speedrunners can nail this trick so frequently. Having a list of steps didn't make it feel any less like guesswork to me. Anyhow, we're finally moving on from this wretched nightmare of a room, and we end the lush green sea with 7 mandatory battles on the counter. Wait, who the fuck are these guys? This is the first time I've seen them. We arrive in the colorful sea at long last, and soon after, it's time for the next major trick of the run. Desolat's skip is thankfully a lot more straightforward and reasonable to pull off, in part because you can actually see what you're doing this time. You need to come to this area here, where that bastard Ello, trademark, is stuck in his hole as always. You see that rock in the bottom right corner there, and the gap right beneath it? Yeah, the devs shouldn't have given us that, because now we get to use it to crack this island wide open. Hold right to get yourself into that gap until you stop moving, similar to Goblik Skip. Gently tap up on the control stick and try to enter UFO formation. If successful, jump and then hold right immediately after. If you start seemingly floating upwards while still holding analog right, spam select the UFO move on the right stick for dear life to make sure you get and maintain warp protection. Sway does a more complex chain of jumps and analog inputs at this part in the speedrun, but what I described is what was most consistent for me. Once you stop floating, jump and then immediately select the UFO move once more to regain warp protection. In fact, select it a few more times for good measure. After, do a UFO spin and hold pretty much exactly upright on the control stick to move to this section here. Carefully navigate over to this house, making sure not to fall off the invisible wall and back in bounds. It wasn't quite an exact science for me personally, but gently tap cardinal directions on your analog stick, so that Mario and Luigi are lined up roughly like this, using the top left bolt of the scrap shingle on the roof as a reference point. Once you're lined up, hold right until you reach this point in front of this fence, close to where Irene and Lurg, if you failed this trick before, will be standing. Initiate a spin and hold up. The second you start to wobble and pop out of the spin, completely let go of the analog stick and start mashing the X button as if the world depends on it. If you did everything right, Mario and Luigi will initiate another spin from on top of a seemingly very precise invisible seam. Hold up as you see the bros begin to spin, maybe slightly right as you approach the gate, and you will finally fall behind the other side of it. Let's fucking go! A very important side effect to note for this skip is that even if my bonus challenges weren't a thing, it completely and utterly cuts you off from using battle plugs in any regard. Since defeating 10 is the trigger for unlocking that system, and the skip bypasses that, yeah. There are only two ways to restore access to plugs. One is to return to Desolat later down the line, as Idol will still be waiting to be found due to being skipped, and allow you to properly activate the trigger for 10's boss fight. This goes completely against my rules, so no! The other is exclusive to version 1.0, by performing the power tap glitch, wherein you game over during the battle with the ship-shaped plug guy Seedles, retry the battle, and then immediately flee. The game would give you all 5 power taps, as it assumes you must have them already, right? This would completely bypass the problem with needing to trigger 10's battle, if not for the fact I'm playing on version 1.0.1, which completely patched that glitch out of the game. This thankfully doesn't affect me, as I completely banned battle plugs either way before I learned Desolat skip was even a thing, but worth keeping in mind for anyone that might want to try this skip themselves. And yet another major trick is in our sights, cause yup, the force battle on Merry-Go can be skipped too! It will be the last one we need to perform in the sea, however, thank fuck. This originally required a far more complicated setup that looks like it would have been a nightmare to try out. But mercifully, BCS Caden found a far easier setup on June 20th of this year. Me and my friends affectionately call it Lesbian Skip 2, by the way. Advance through the merry-go maze normally up until you reach the center. Instead of hitting the switch that rotates the maze, go through the already accessible upper right exit, then navigate to this corner of the maze here, recognizable by the guy crying like a bitch-ass motherfucker on the other side of the wall. Hold up left to get into the corner like so, and tap up or down as needed to make tiny adjustments to get yourself in this rough position. Then in order, gently tap left, down, left. Enter UFO formation if possible, and press X to spin. The invisible wall should cut your spin short and leave you slightly in the air, facing downwards like this. Press up until Mario and Luigi's backs are facing towards you. Jump 3 times. Spam the UFO move on the right stick to hopefully gain warp protection, then jump once. Hold up left for just a bit until you reach roughly this spot of the invisible floor here, then initiate another UFO spin with X and hold up. Even after the UFO spin stops, keep holding up. If you've done everything correctly, you'll land in front of the maze's exit. Got this skip after only about 9 minutes of attempts. It's easily the most forgiving one I did thanks to BCS Caden's new method. Battle number 8 finally comes to bash our skulls in and use our backs as dinner plates on Lotta coins. I look up the first code solution to avoid an otherwise needed battle up these stairs and to the right. So it's actually these assholes we find after getting the bros ball that will have the pleasure of putting our heads on pikes. This is easily the regular battle that took me the longest, at a whopping 16 minutes and 12 seconds, longer than our first boss. The problem is incredibly simple. Our attack is absolutely garbage, so our attacks do next to nothing to them. And our defense and speed are even worse, meaning they get more opportunities to absolutely steamroll us. I beat this battle without going down to cakewalk or even merely easy mode, but it was only barely a victory, and I got my ass handed to me on a silver platter. I probably should have just reduced the difficulty, and I'd do this to one degree or another for the rest of the run, but here, I was just being a stubborn bitch. I have no excuse. This brings us to level 7, right before our second boss. My successful attempt at Mega Snapter lasted just shy of 12 minutes, and that was with cakewalk mode. If I'd stayed on normal mode, or even just gone down to merely easy, this would have likely taken exponentially longer. As always, our stats are garbage, and the enemy has fantastic stats in comparison. Even with the unhinged level of buffing cakewalk mode gives to your attack and defense, it's still more pathetic in regards to hitting your targets than you'd probably think. So you're gonna be here a while no matter what. An extreme defense doesn't mean you're 100% safe, even on cakewalk mode. All of that chip damage from Mega Snapter can add up very quickly, so knowing how to handle her attack patterns is still critical for our success. And succeed we do, reaching shell rank at long last. There's no way in hell we're getting up to max rank, so we have to pick our buffs here very carefully. I chose quick leveling as our first rank up bonus of the run, and this battle also shoots us all the way to level 11. Ooh. I'm getting the fuck out of here! God, that put the fear of fucking God in my eyes. No, no, no. No, please! No, Vernius! No, please! Ooh.
Quiet. You break my mewing streak.
The entirety of the colorful lighthouse is done normally. There's actually a skip that allows us to bypass one of the stealth sections that's exclusive to version 1.0.1 due to how it handles spawning Sharpcask's battle trigger. But as it doesn't save any battles from the counter, I chose to forego it and do all the puzzles in stealth anyway. Speaking of Sharpcask, yeah, he's our next boss and the 10th battle overall. Once again, knocking down the difficulty to cakewalk like I did, or even just easy if you want a bit of a challenge, is basically required to properly stand a chance. Something else I'll mention now, which applies to every battle up to now, and pretty much the rest of the run, is that managing our BP consumption is going to be a nightmare. Due to my bonus challenges, I'm completely unable to efficiently replenish my stock of syrup jars, only getting to scavenge what I can from the overworld in the very few battles we enter. If you were ever to run out of syrup jars, like I came closer to than I'd like a few times, you could potentially lock yourself out of bros attacks at critical moments. While this thankfully never happened to me, you should still proceed with caution. Anyway, this battle still took 13 minutes to clear, as Cakewalk in and of itself does not buff our damage to a significant degree as far as bosses are concerned, so you should still be prepared to sip a Glohm latte. Beating Sharpcask shoots us up to level 14, and we end the colorful lighthouse with 10 battles on the counter. Time to start the burning sea, the sea of all time. Onward to Bulbfish!
No music. You just spawn in.
Where's the music? What the fuck?
Because again... And it doesn't trigger that stop block. So you can literally just go to the lighthouse.
What the fuck?
And that's the end of Bulbfish. Remember how we skipped Goblik way earlier in the run? Yeah, turns out that all of the triggers on Bulbfish are tied to defeating Goblik specifically. So by skipping him completely, the game throws its hands in the air and calls it quits. Now nothing is active on Bulbfish, and we get to just reconnect the lighthouse, no questions asked. Was one of the funniest damn things to experience in this whole run. And right after on Heat Freeze, where we try and fail to solve racism, our next required battle enters the ring. These Zoc troopers are one of the few groups where our base shitty attack stat is actually adequate. Was able to beat them first try, no easy mode, in only about 4 minutes. Make no mistake though, it was neither free nor easy. They're still more than capable of smashing us into dust with very little effort. The Ring Zoc troopers especially being capable of one-shotting us, so you should still know how to dodge their attacks properly, some of which are easier said than done due to requiring the hammer. Anyway, after this battle we reach level 15 and thus get Boomerang rank. Both bros are given the POW Up Plus bonus, hopefully giving even a tiny boost to our damage potential going forward. Upon making our way to this island's cave, we reach the next required trick of the run. Fire and Ice early. For my attempts, I referenced Sway's demonstration of the trick, with some modifications on my part toward the end. His original demo will be linked in the description, as that is the more optimal one to learn for speedruns. Once again, it's the seemingly innocent corner of the Heat Freeze cave that allows us to defy the laws of physics, because as I've learned fairly quickly, saying this game was programmed on duct tape is being kind. Hold right to get up against the corner until your shadow stops moving. While still holding right, roll the control stick to full up and let go. In order, gently tap up, down, down, then try to enter ball formation. If successful, jump and roll your control stick up and right. If you start floating, spam the ball move on your right stick and the return pipe on ZR to maintain warp protection all the way up. Also press right at least once during your ascent for good measure. Once you stop floating upwards, gently tap slightly down right and try to switch to UFO formation. I personally had to make one more tiny tap to get this step correct, but most times one tap will be sufficient. After entering UFO formation, select said option on your wheel a fair few times, as well as the grayed out jump option to regain warp protection. Jump and press slightly down right very shortly after. Using very small down and right inputs, line up Mario and Luigi with the wall of rock to their right roughly like this. The visual guide that worked best for me was this particular rock here. By having Luigi's feet visually appear to be contained within that first darker gray ring, it consistently got me good results for this next part. Hold left until you visually line up between these two fences in front of this size block, or gently tap your way there if you're like me and keep having skill issues with out-of-bounds navigation. Press X, then hold roughly down left for the spin's duration. You should land on this invisible seam here. Move left until Luigi's hat is just barely overlapping this stalagmite in the background. Press X, hold up left for the spin's duration, then let go once it ends, much like Desolat Skip. Repeat once more until you're about here. Tap up left a few times to correct your position to roughly here. Press X and hold left for a bit. You should wind up around here, but I personally overshot and had to course correct. If you're in the right place, spin and hold up left for its duration. And here is where I deviated from Sway's reference. Initiate spin, and while midair, hold up for a bit, and then right for a bit. After I landed, I did this zigzag movement to about here, but that might not be necessary. Spin once more and hold upright and you'll have successfully performed the trick. This may not seem to do much at first, but trust me, this one simple sequence break allows us to bend the game to our will to a comical degree a little later on. Scorching is up next. There's technically a way to skip both required fights on this island, but it's exclusive to version 1.0, so we'll actually be doing the vast majority of this island normally. Our next obligatory battle is this group of bob-ombs as a result. They could have potentially been a nightmare to deal with, as for obvious reasons, we still hit enemies with all the force of a loaf of bread. But thankfully, their gimmicky explosion counter actually saves us here. By timing things just right with their shining audio cue, each given bob-omb will be returned back to sender and damage the rest of their group instead of us. Make no mistake though, given how low our defense is, this battle is not free. If you were to miss one of the dodges, you'd more likely than not get one shot. I didn't miss any though, so this was a rare first try clear. The skip I can use here comes after all of the lava draining stuff, and it's called Scorching Battle Skip. Although a bit finicky, it's one of the easiest glitches in this run. Enter UFO formation and jump up the ledge right here. Move left along this bottom seam to about here. This is actually where the autosave that triggers will put you if you fail to skip, so it's super quick to reload and try again. Initiate a spin and move down, then left, then up to hopefully land on this tiny seam here. Any further up or to the right and we would be in the cutscene. UFO spin one more time and hold right to about here, then switch to up, and you should land past the Bros trigger. Slip and glide time. We're going to be doing everything normally up until we complete the 10 chase and unlock the ball blitz move. Remember this little line I said at the end of the Bros Attacks and Battle Plugs run? You should play on an unpatched 1.0 copy of the game. You'll be able to shave off the Bros Attack uses in Slip and Glide that I just couldn't due to the version I was stuck playing on. Yeah, turns out I was full of shit! Slip and Glide skip is completely viable in version 1.0.1, meaning I could have done it as soon as that challenge. This is what I get for not properly checking my resources. Anyway, this is the first skip that Fire and Ice Early directly enables. Line Mario up behind this candle here, making sure he's directly up against it, then gently press roughly down left. You should be angled like this. Enter Fire and Ice formation and begin jumping. You'll appear to snap up and then back down a few times, but keep jumping until you start floating. At which point you need to start spamming the Fire and Ice move on the right stick to gain and maintain warp protection all the way up. Again, Sway does a chain of jumps up the invisible wall during the speedrun, but I personally found just letting myself float upwards more consistent. Once you stop ascending to the heavens, jump and press left not long after, switching to UFO formation once you land. While holding the right stick towards UFO formation, gently tap right on the left stick until the 3 other options on the wheel become grayed out. Release the right stick to confirm selecting UFO, then spam said formation, and even the grayed out jump a few times to regain warp protection once more. Move roughly up left to align yourself with the 3rd peg in this fence, then hold up until your feet are lined up with the top of this item block here. Make tiny tap adjustments as needed. Once you're in the correct place, hold right to about here and start a UFO spin. Hold full right to about here, immediately initiate another spin and move up and then slightly up left towards the end of the spin to around here. Spin and hold fully upright to land here. Carefully navigate upright, then straight up until Mario and Luigi are about here. Another UFO spin, hold up left. Move left to about here, do another spin, and hold up left to here. And if everything was correct, hold left and you'll come out of the cave's exit without having to enter the cave, and completely bypassing the Goomba and Koopa squad battle as a result. And mercifully, this is the last skip with complex out-of-bounds movement in this run. The rest will get comparatively easier from here. After the Yuri wedding, wherein nothing of note happened for the run, it's time for the burning lighthouse. Immediately after clearing the stealth sections, we get to perform the next skip of the run in the elevator room. Get ready for the most heart-pumping, mind-bending, fear-inducing trick of all time! Yep, that's literally it. Due to pulling off Fire and Ice early, we can melt one of the ice blocks ourselves, completely skipping having to reunite with Connie and solving the lava room puzzle. And just by skipping these two things and the chain of events in between, much like with Bulbfish skip earlier, the game completely shits the bed. After putting all 3 plugs into the main gate, the cutscene will actually hang for a few seconds while the game freaks the fuck out, trying to move Connie over to the bros and finding out she doesn't exist. Once some time passes, which you should hold B to fast forward through, the game gives up and lets you move on anyway. This same hang will happen 2 more times. Once when you enter the pipe gunk room, and once when you try going to the top floor of the lighthouse. Also, there's this when you interact with the elevator for the first time. Gotta love getting the camera flung out of bounds, huh? But yeah, all of this to say, we successfully skipped Pipe Gunk's battle! Considering my track record with the shithead in my previous challenges, thank fuck for that! We end the Burning Sea with 12 required battles on the counter. Offandon Island's up next. You know, this place doesn't look so terrible. Oh shit! A rat! Quick! Freeze that fountain and jump up here to avoid it! Okay, while you're up here anyway, go to the very top platform here. Initiate a UFO spin from the upper leftmost corner, then hold left for a while, and up for a bit. And that's it! You've broken nearly every single trigger on Offandon and can just waltz your way to the lighthouse, skipping an otherwise unavoidable battle in the process. The end! The routing for these next 2 island revisits is actually very important for this run. If we were to go to Twisty first, we would have 2 unnecessary battles forced upon us in the name of restoring the island to normal. So we say fuck that noise and head off for Heat Freeze first, immediately encountering these Spinies. And they can one-shot us. As to be expected, the only way to stand a chance is, as always, to knock the difficulty down to cakewalk or easy at the bare minimum. We cleared them on the first attempt after reducing our difficulty, however, reaching level 16 in the process. The next group standing in our way are these bob-ombs in the Heat Freeze cave. We can actually copy the exact same strat we used for the Scorching bob-omb battle. I beat this first try, no easy mode, and reached level 17. And remember how we did Fire and Ice early all the way back during our first visit? Because we already cleared the way and solved all the fountain puzzles, we can dash to the end in record time, reconnecting the lighthouse before you can lick those chapped lips of yours. Don't think I didn't notice, dry lip having at. Moving on to Twisty! Gonna breeze past the battles in this area, as there's nothing interesting to add. Just know that our counter gets incremented by 2, and we wind up at level 19. With the power of lesbian craftsmanship, we return to Offandon once more. We fly over the Shitting in Fear Gal's cutscene trigger yet again and approach the central plaza. After the cutscene, we get to avoid going to prison! Because as we all know, the rules of society apply only to those that abide by the laws of reality. Exit the plaza and line yourself up here, using this seam in the stone tile as a rough visual aid. Hold left and hopefully manage to press CR as soon as you reach this spot right here. If the return pipe menu pops up, close it, hold left and press the start button not long after. Go to the battle tab of Snoutlet School, scroll down to one of the bros attacks and press Y to start practice. Flee from the practice seedles immediately. Remember how I defined battles way earlier in the run? Yeah, these clearly ain't battles, shit-ass. Couldn't earn EXP from them even if I tried. Anyway, close the start menu, hold left, and press start not long after once again. Repeat the Snoutlet School steps once more, then after closing the start menu another time, hold left and...
Let's go! We've done it!
Talk to the paratroopers as normal, then return pipe back to shipshape. Because we skipped the trigger for our disguises at the plaza entrance, the game won't try to stop us. And best of all, this not only skips the entire Offandon prison portion, but also an otherwise required battle at the end of said section. I guess you could say our next stop is a good way away. I'll get my coat. Gonna once again be glossing over the first battle on this island. Cakewalk mode, know their attack patterns, yada yada yada. We reach level 20. Literally the only thing of note here is this clever bit of routing. Once you finish all of the normal steps to lower this gate, instead of progressing to the lever as normal, grab one of the plugs from the elevator first, and then make your way up that step, passing the plug between the bros as needed. This will let us skip an otherwise required battle with some higher level Koopa Troopas. We still have to utterly decimate the level 15 Koopa Troopa guarding the lever though. Pro can't catch a fucking break, huh?
I forgot to unmute, but that really shows how under-leveled you are. You couldn't even one-shot that guy. That's bad. Fire, Candy, you agree with me, right? That's concerning. I'm scared now. Girahim just said, "You're dead," in a very, very matter-of-fact tone of voice.
Bowser's our next boss! And he can one-shot us instantly. Again. We'll be using Cakewalk mode to make our defense ridiculous, and we clear him on the first attempt at this difficulty. Again. Best advice I can give is to know his attack patterns. Again. We reach level 23 and get fire rank in the process. I give both bros the Jumpman bonus for shits and giggles, honestly. Everything available as a perk at this point is kind of fucking useless to us, not gonna lie. And I can't even say that reaching this rank was satisfying. Even with our god-awful stats, Cakewalk mode has been making everything a damn joke. Case in point, the 2 battles in the Gulch Rock Lighthouse. We're level 24 by the end of it. Woo-hoo.
It's a fact! It's a me, Mario! Go a dying and teach, you fucking shitheads! I'm a tired of hearing about the fishy boofkins. So, how about you go, be this valley granola bars? Or some shit. I don't know, but point is, you're not welcome in the Mario franchise anymore. Little shit. Oh, holy shit. Was that the 117 damage as in the funny sands of the skeleton?
How are you able to do these bits?
I don't know.
What the hell?
Ah, jeez, Lois. This is worse than the time I got transported to Concordia. Now, Peter, I have heard you have the strongest bonds on all of Spooner Street. Yeah, I don't care. What? Yeah, where's your nearest bar? I'm just gonna get drunk.
What?
But what about saving the world, Peter? Eh, fuck that. I've saved the world too many fucking times. I just want to grab a beer. God damn it! You know, great conductor, getting transported to Concordia sounds like a euphemism for doing crack. You do know that, right? What's crack? Oh boy, you're about to have some fun. Like, just imagine someone walks up, sees Peter, and is like, "Oh, hi, great conductor!"
Oh my god.
Holy crap! I'm God! No, you're not, I am! Well, that random passerby said I'm God. So kneel before me and get me some bacon! Lucky there's a family, God! We blast off to Fortress Zocket once more, hoping to free Cosette from that toxic relationship. But alas, that's gonna have to wait until later, cause Glohm Bowser is the very last skip that we need to perform in this run. And oh boy, is it finicky. Hold up right to get in this corner. In order, gently tap down 3 times and right once. Enter Fire and Ice formation and jump until you're floating in midair like this. Spam the move on your right stick to gain warp protection. Then jump and hold up not long after. Repeat as many times as necessary until you get up to this point here. Then just hold up and you're past the pre-battle cutscene trigger. But you're not out of the woods yet. The game is going to freak the fuck out from here, as seen by every character being doubled in the cutscene that unfolds in front of you. Hold B to fast forward and button mash A, L, and R for dear life to hopefully get out of this cutscene quickly. Hold down as soon as you gain control of the bros and start mashing ZR. I'm not sure what the ZR part does here exactly, but I've learned to not question the logic of this game's glitch hunters. The second you see a snoutlet speech bubble, hold B once more and mash A, L, and R like you're trying to hurl a truck at a blue rat. You need to close all of these text boxes as fast as possible before the Glohm beam knocks you past the jumping cutscene trigger, soft-locking you and making you have to restart this process from scratch. If you do everything right though, you'll just barely leave Fortress Socket by the skin of your ass with 21 required battles on the counter.
Oh, thank God!
Yes!
Jump! And there we go!
Go, Ashley, go! Yes!
From here on out, every story required battle must be completed. No questions asked. Waking up on Conductor Island once again, we run into an old enemy of ours. Great Conductor is pretty much the only battle in this run that Cakewalk Mode doesn't completely nullify. As you know by now if you've watched my previous challenges, his gimmick is that he's a glorified tutorial for bros attacks. After freeing the correct bro from their pink solo cup prison, the bitch-ass controller will only allow the damage you deal to stick if it's an excellent rated bros attack. He also locks off battle plugs for this fight, but I can't use them anyway due to Desolate Skip. So eat shit, swine. No, the main thing of note with this battle is that we actually come decently close to losing here, even on Cakewalk. Great Conductor managed to count down to 2 on his timer. That has never happened to me on any other playthrough of this game. Never thought I'd be saying that this big ham would only be beaten by the skin of our ass, but here we are. At least we reached level 26? It was after this point, though, that I decided I'd had enough of Cakewalk Mode making the other fights I had to deal with too boring, and made a promise to myself to go down to merely easy for the rest of the run. This was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made.
Also, man, the sheer nerve of these fuckers to go like, let's talk to a Daphne when we have Timenuki right fucking there. Like, is she not good enough for you hoes? How about you, have you thought of consulting a Daphne? How about you, have you ever considered shutting the fuck up? I swear to God. They're gonna call me Colonel Runaway. And when they go to my house, they're gonna say, oh look, that's the house of Colonel Runaway.
Coming in at the second Fortress Socket visit, the Extension Corps are the next boss. This fight. Oh God, this fight. It took me nearly 3 hours to complete! This is the first boss I face where we go down to merely easy mode, and I'm already feeling the effects defense-wise. Nearly every single attack in the battle can two-shot us, and a fair few are even capable of one-shots. Merely knowing their attack patterns is no longer good enough. Now you have to master them, or risk starting the battle all over again. If I were to go over every pain point of this fight, that would likely single-handedly add 2 pages to my script, because again, every single attack in the battle is problematic in one way or another. I will, however, give tips for a few particularly noteworthy ones. A ton of counters in this battle outright require the hammer. So even though it's going to feel insurmountable, audio cues are going to be your best judge for when to release that button. 10's chain of attacks with the tap dancing is the best example of this. After the theme song plug gets used later in the battle, X's fast as fuck attacks will actually speed up in regards to the timing required. So let this greasy white boy do one full loop of his newming, and then time your hammer accordingly with where the little shit is gonna be. When Shun switches to the double dumbbell attack after the single-minded plug is activated, what you want to pay attention to is the way his arms are raised. Whichever one is still in the air when he does his roar is the one that will get thrown at you first, with the other one following very shortly after, so be prepared for that troll. With any combo attacks involving X, pay close attention to which side of the screen he leaves. If he exits through the left side of the screen, for example, he's going to come back from that same edge, meaning you have to be prepared to dodge with Luigi first as soon as you see that fucker barreling in. Aside from that, it's just making sure you have good timing and praying to every possible deity that the core don't wipe the floor with you. But eventually, with enough persistence, this will happen.
Let's go! I finally made it to the end of the fight, Fire! I can't believe that took me 3 fucking hours, Fire!
We reach level 20 and finally get to move on from this brutal fight and right into another roadblock.
Then along came Zeus. He hurled his thunderbolt.
Yeah!
Zocket took about an hour and 42 minutes to clear. The reasons he's difficult are very similar to why the core were a royal pain in the ass, but with one important difference. Most, if not all, of his attacks have an incredibly high chance to gloam you. Since our speed stat is so abysmal, and since plugs are cut off due to Desolat skip, we have absolutely zero way to heal this status with any amount of efficiency. And more times than not, Zocket will get to instantly brainwash the afflicted bro, not even giving you the chance to waste the turn giving them an amp berry. Since a lot of his attacks require the hammer, there's a very high likelihood that even if you get the timing right, you'll still get bodied anyway. Same goes for jumping over his shockwave attack, which has very deceptive timing. Especially disastrous since some of his attacks are one-shots yet again. One specific tip I can give you is for when Zocket spreads his wings open. He will randomly choose Bro's attacks to give a side-eye upon selecting, and after completing all of your inputs, he will retaliate with a string of finger bangs. Until his wings close again, the only Bro's attacks you should use are Red Shell, Hatch Me If You Can, and Jump Helmet. These in particular will minimize the amount of Glohm beams that Zocket gets to fire at you, as they directly correlate to the amount of hits you land on him specifically, not the amount of damage. Other than that though, all you can do is attack him where you can and survive. Just do your best, and eventually...
This has to be it. That's over 300 damage. That's it, yeah.
Let's go!
Woo! By the power of me eating a burger.
Oh my god. I think that battle was half a fucking hour long.
And past me was correct. Even this successful attempt was a slog to get through. Thankfully, we reach level 30 and finally acquire Leaf Rank as a result of this fight. I immediately beelined for the Iron Body buff for Mario and Luigi. Even if it's not by much, this is pretty much the only significant permanent increase to our defense we're getting for the entire run.
Blah 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Do you want to die?
No.
Too fucking bad.
Oh, fuck. Well, what do you mean by that?
I mean, who wants to go to hell, bitches?
No, but I never did drugs. There was that one time, Mario. Oh, yeah, but back in the 80s.
Welcome to hell, now bid your farewells. No one will hear your breathing.
Oh, no, it's a yellow flower.
Welcome to Gooberville, everybody! We have to go around collecting everyone's bond energy. And our first stop in that quest is Rumbla Island, where we once again encounter an old friend of ours, the third Glohm man of the apocalypse himself, Glohm Garumbla. This was actually an extremely rare first try clear, no easy mode to boot. Our POW stat is actually adequate enough to where we don't need the temporary buff that death would provide us with. The main thing you need to keep in mind here is that although his attacks are all the same as in his first encounter, they're also all at double speed. So you need to be much quicker on your toes if you want to avoid getting steamrolled, cause yeah, our defense still success. And since he has the counter gimmick while fully standing up, he has double the opportunity to knock you down until he's back on the ground himself. So play carefully, slow down if you need to, and you'll eventually prevail. We reach level 32 after this fight. I'm going to be lumping these next two battles on Shrimp Bee and Micro Islet together. They're both required in order to get Idol's Bond, and they both require easy mode for one simple reason. Our attacks do jack shit to one of the enemy types in each respective counter. The Crows for Shrimp Bee, and the Drill Bees for Micro. We reach level 33 by the end of these two fights. Not even worth discussing it further. In fact, we can breeze past the next forced encounter in Offandon as well for the exact same reason. The Glohm Koopa Troopas are effectively Crodars on crack with how much they can resist our attacks. We sweep them with easy mode, get Bowser Jr. and Buddy's bond, and move on.
Oh, this is technically the Grampy Turnip Room. But...
Oh yeah, but we can't go see them.
yeah.
They're dead to us.
Yeah. Fuck 'em hoes!
Don't
Fuck
fuck a
'em.
turnip, please.
Yo, mind out the fucking gutter, boy.
Yomi just woke up from being dead silent for the last, hour and said, do it for the lols.
Oh my god.
Girl thing, why are you such a freak?
Time for the final two regular battles of the run. The first group Reclusa throws at us, consisting of 4 Seedlusas, is actually wholly doable without decreasing the difficulty. And it's thanks to one item that I've managed to keep a few of in my inventory up to this point. Boo Biscuits. By using one before a lone Seedlusa gets to transform, we can effectively allow this asshole to destroy itself with its Desperation attack, netting 0 EXP to boot. The second group, having 1 Reclusive and 4 Seedlusas, is also surprisingly simple thanks to some really good luck. 3 of the Seedlusas copy our strat of running away like little sissy babies, and we're able to take out the 4th one along with the Reclusive fairly easily, once again without decreasing the difficulty. Move on to the final save block. Be sure to grab the item blocks in the room and heal, and brace yourself for the final gauntlet ahead of you. Reclusa's the hardest boss of the run, and it's not even a contest. But you didn't need me to tell you that, did ya? The first chase-only battle is surprisingly simple, being the final time we can complete a fight without lowering the difficulty, but you still need to tread with caution. You need to dodge all of the Doom Blooms perfectly, lest you need to reset. We need to reserve as many of our items for the next phases as possible, so we can't afford to deal with these detours. Even with that precision, this chase fight took me 11 minutes and 53 seconds to clear, but I'm glad that normal mode got to have one final hurrah. We actually reach level 36 during the battle. As fucked as it is that this happens, I use reaching star rank to my advantage and give both plumbers the casual bros buff, lowering the BP my bros moves consume by 30%. This is going to be critical because as soon as Weeping Reclusa comes into the picture, the difficulty spikes dramatically. He's more than capable of two-shotting us, especially frustrating as one of those attacks is his bullshit hand swipe maneuver. No matter what tells I try to glean from the attack, or whatever timings I try, he can and does hit me for half of my health at best. And even the dodges that are hammer-based are a pain in the ass due to the extreme perspective change that this oversized cherry blossom presents. There were several times that I only barely survived this ice rock attack by the skin of my ass, and more times still that I died right then and there. Same goes for his spiky nut attack. In order to free Snoutlet for the Luigi logic on top of that, you have to kill at least one of the 4 Doom Blooms that can respawn or change which one is holding your piggy friend if you aren't fast enough. And trust me, these guys are no slouches either. Their projectile attacks combine fast fire and slow ice to varying degrees, and especially since the dodges require the hammer, they can be pretty difficult to keep up with. While more straightforward, the lunging attacks can be tricky to judge timing-wise too, as some of the audio cues will outright troll you in regards to how long they last. My only advice is to be on your guard. And of course, you need to perform the Luigi logic perfectly, lest you need to die and restart this phase from scratch. Thankfully enough, I did clear the Luigi logic the first time I was able to reach it, letting us move on to the final section. Weeping Core is up first on the docket. Even though this and the next phase are considered part of the same battle as Weeping Reclusa, the game is merciful enough to grant us a checkpoint at the start of Weeping Core, meaning you'll get back any items you used during Weeping Reclusa once you die to go down to easy mode. This is why I only incremented the counter by 1 earlier. Anyway, Weeping Core may only have 2 attacks, but that only means the problem with his battle is simple yet brutal. He hits us with all the strength of a boulder. Even his weaker attack, the bootleg Princess Shrooblegs, can build up chip damage over time due to the trollish nature of its tells. What definitely doesn't help that matter is his Sonic the Hedgehog looking attack, which requires the hammer to counter. Even when I finally found some semblance of consistency with timing it, relying on the Joy-Con's rumble as opposed to any visual cues, there were still several times where I missed and got a brother pretty much instantly knocked out due to the prior chip damage. And on top of all of that, our speed stat is still abysmal for obvious reasons, so he more often than not does these 2 attacks back to back. The best advice I can give you for this phase is in regards to your bros attacks. Use up your red shell, clockout blow, and green shell first. You can't hit the next phase with these attacks anyway, so it doesn't matter if the core fully analyzes them. After that, use each of your other bros attacks once, and sacrifice Hatch Me If You Can and Zapparator to the analysis gods if need be. Also, making sure that both bros stay alive as much as possible is going to be critical for the next phase's strategy. The final phase is against the one and lonely proper, Reclusa. Brace yourself, because Weeping Core was the easy part. The first painful attack is the one where either Mario or Luigi gets stoned. As some of you might remember, the dodging mechanic has a change made to it for only this part of this battle and nowhere else in the whole game. In older Mario and Luigi installments, having to carry your dead bro while performing counters would introduce about a 1-second input delay to your button press. They removed this annoying feature in Brothership, as it should have been, except for this stoner attack specifically. And the game doesn't tell you this at all. You have to figure it out on your own from getting your ass handed to you. It's manageable during the first half of this phase when it's calmer, but after Reclusa gets pissed off and the background turns purple, it's actually more optimal to let the active bro die and then revive them on your next turn. Otherwise, you risk having to deal with the beefed up version of Reclusa's energy orb at the end, which has far jankier perspective and timing to work with, and is also an instant death for both brothers if you fail to counter it, which you will, more likely than not. The next surprisingly difficult attack is this one, where Reclusa splits off into multiple different copies and fires orbs at you. It's relatively straightforward to learn a lot of the timing required via audio cues, but even then, I got hit a lot during this attack, even to the point of having to waste extra turns bringing a bro back from the grave. The third and final attack in Reclusa's move pool is this series of Thanos snaps that gets added during his Fury mode. Oddly enough, it's the easiest move in his kit to deal with. He will always fire these at you in either a round of 4 or 6. For the first 3 or 5 respectively, only jump after you hear a thwip sound effect, and you'll dodge those first shots consistently. The last shot in the volley will always be a troll that sends a big energy ball hurtling towards the ground, for which you should only jump once it makes contact and starts sending a shockwave towards you. This battle was an unforgiving struggle from start to finish, but eventually, after 3 hours, 22 minutes, and 22 seconds of total attempts for all 4 phases, this happened.
Please let this be it. Please.
Oh my god!
You did it.
Yes, I did. Who am I speaking with right now? I'm so confused.
We don't know. Everyone, I guess.
Well, everyone in the solar system, I did it.
Okay, everyone's trying to talk at once.
Oh my
Everyone's
God.
trying to talk at once.
I did it. This run's
On it, Ashley.
over.
Well done, Ashley. Okay.
Thanks.
Good
y'all.
job.
Thanks, y'all.
That took forever. That was such a warm attrition.
Yeah, that
Loved
probably. Yeah, that was 3 fucking hours.
We finally kill our TV once again and book it the hell out of here, ending the run with 32 required battles on our counter. So, would I recommend this run to anyone? No. Even putting aside my self-imposed restrictions on top of everything, some of the glitches and skips I needed to learn were surprisingly difficult, and Goblik Skip especially was brutal, to the point my hands hated me for a good couple days from the hours of attempts put in for that trick alone. However, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't proud of what I managed to accomplish here. I pulled off so many tricks that I thought I'd never manage in a million years. I got past bosses that I probably shouldn't have been able to, even taking my early use of cakewalk mode into consideration. Earlier in the run, I was about to throw in the towel at Goblik Skip, and yet I did all this. It's hard to put into words how satisfying this was to complete. If you somehow want to try doing this run, even after all this, I have some suggestions for you. First, don't do the extra restrictions that I did. This run is going to be difficult enough for you. You should cut yourself some slack and use all gear sources to your advantage. Second, if you don't want to spend multiple hours struggling in vain to beat certain bosses, die 3 times and go down to cakewalk mode. I personally felt it was making the battles uninteresting up until I locked it off and did merely easy mode, but that is the most beginner-friendly way to get into this challenge. Third, and most important of all, don't be afraid to ask questions. The speedrunning community for this game was incredibly helpful with pointing me in the right direction on tricks I struggled with, without judgment, and they had fantastic advice that I applied throughout the run. They've forgotten more about these tricks than I'll ever know, so they are without a doubt the best people to turn to if you get stuck. A huge thanks goes to everyone in the Mario and Luigi speedrunning Discord, especially Sway and C, Luigi Fan 32, BCS Caden, and Reef417 for helping me get this far in one way or another. I'd probably still be stuck at Goblik if not for you guys. Another massive thanks goes to Sorrel Leaf, Owo Candy Bean, Fire, and Luna Loca for joining me on this journey. Being able to share a lot of the lows and highs here made this far more worth it than it probably would have otherwise. And again, y'all are some of the best friends I could have ever asked for. You can find links to my raw footage, the M&L speedrunning Discord, channels for everyone mentioned as applicable, and the resources I reference for this run in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, fuckers.